Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Readings and Thoughts from the Scriptures in the book of 2nd Thessalonians, and we're in chapter 3, the last chapter with this video. And chapter 3, verses 6 through 15 is the section we'll read, and the section is entitled in the NIV, Warning Against Idleness. And there's a reason for this, and it's a reason that connects with what Paul has said in this letter by way of correction and in his first letter to the Thessalonians about the second coming of Christ and the resurrection. So here's what he says here, warning against idleness. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we command you, brothers and sisters, to keep away from every believer who is idle and disruptive and does not live according to the teaching you received from us. For you yourselves know how you ought to follow our example. We were not idle when we were with you. They kept busy, the apostle and his associates. Nor did we eat anyone's food without paying for it. On the contrary, we worked night and day, laboring and toiling, so that we would not be a burden to any of you. We did this not because we do not have the right for such help. So Paul voluntarily did not call on these assemblies that he was founding as churches for support. He did receive support from other churches that helped him, but he also filled in with his own labor and his vocation as a tent maker, and especially in any place around the Roman Empire near the sea, a lot of canvas had to be repaired or built, so he had plenty of work to do. But as he points out, all those who are called into ministry are also supposed to be supported by those that they are ministered to, and that's something that Paul's very strong about. So that's why he says, on the contrary, we work night and day, laboring and toiling, so that we would not be a burden to any of you. We did this not because we don't have the right to such help, but in order to offer ourselves as a model for you to imitate. And that model is to serve, no matter what the rewards may or may not be, to serve others first and foremost. For even when we were with you, we gave you this rule, quote, the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. Now, end quote. There's no footnote in the NIV to tell us where that comes from. So apparently it was a rule that the apostles came up with and passed on to at least the Thessalonians in this place. But this is why he's mentioning this. In verse 11 he says, we hear that some among you are idle and disruptive. They are not busy. They are busybodies, sticking their noses into everybody else's business, while at the same time not minding their own business and caring for themselves. They're idle and busybodies. Such people we command and urge in the Lord Jesus Christ to settle down and earn the food they get, or they eat. And as for you, brothers and sisters, never tire of doing what is good. Take special note of anyone who does not obey our instruction in this letter. Do not associate with them in order that they may feel ashamed. Yet do not regard them as an enemy, but warn them as you would a fellow believer. So that's his statement concerning idleness and being disruptive. But part of it came from the fact that they were so concerned that the Lord was coming back that they just kind of sat around waiting for it, and then perhaps trying to emphasize that importance to other people. And nowhere is it taught that, knowing that Jesus has promised to return, that we should just sit around on a mountaintop waiting for him to show up. Cults do that. One famous cult a few decades ago just sat and waited for the Lord to come, and then they fell into a belief that there was some mothership coming to pick them up, so they all committed suicide drinking poison because of their weird ideas about the second coming. So we're to be busy. And Jesus points those things out too when he talks about what is the time of his coming and the end of the age. And he points out to the 10 virgins at the wedding feast, and 5 of them had oil, and they had the wicks trimmed in their lamps, and they were ready to spend as long as it takes during the night for the bridegroom to come and claim his bride. And 5 did not. They just sat around and waited, and they ran out of oil. And Jesus used that as an illustration of the fact we need to be prepared. We are called to wait for the coming of the Lord with not anxiety and not with idleness, but with joyous anticipation. But since we've been waiting now into the 21st century, we see that there's no teaching that tells us to just abandon everything and wait for him to come. We're to be busy, and we're to be busy about doing good in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, so that his name is witnessed amongst our families and our friends and our neighbors and even our enemies. So do not regard them as an enemy, but warn them as you would a fellow believer. Just keep busy about doing the things that we are called to do, to care for ourselves, to care for our families, and in the process to show the glory of God. So till next time, stay busy.